We are 17 and we just dropped out of our school. A big nightmare for our Indian parents. And now we are at a Bangalore call center at about 2 a.m. and we are trying to read the insurance scripts to British grandmas to help them out for just 8,000 rupees a month. क्या स्कोप दिख रहा है मेरे फ्यूचर का? काफी लेम लग रहा होगा? But fast forward to 20 years, I am worth more than $1.5 billion. And to achieve this, I have never taken a single rupee from any investor. And oh, we have done it all without a college degree. This sounds so unconventional and so unrealistic, right? Except that this is not a fiction, it is a real story. Real story of Mr. Nikhil Kamath. And he is a billionaire, we all know it, right? But this story is not just him about getting rich, but it's about him seeing what others could not see, making the invisible visible, and most importantly, having the conviction and courage to take the road less taken. So stick around because what you're about to hear is going to completely change your idea of success, education, and it will help you understand what it really takes to build something legendary. Okay, so we all have seen Nikhil Kamath's podcast. They are very popular right now. He comes out as a very calm, nonchalant, and genius kind of a person with a super curious mind. So आपको ये लग रहा होगा कि बचपन से ही he would have been that coder and the topper of the school, but that was not the case. So let's rewind back to his childhood story. So as per the records, he was not born rich and he was not genius prodigy kind of a student. However, he thought differently, always. And that difference got him into trouble. See, while other kids in 9th grade, just like most of us, were worried about the exams and the scorecards, he was running a side hustle. His mind was bent towards entrepreneurship. He figured out that you could buy the mobile phones and then flip them to your classmates, and this is how you can start making profits. Nothing crazy, just the concept of arbitrage. But he started pursuing it. So everything was going fine until one day his mom discovered the stash of phones in his room. And what do you think she would do? Indian parent. She would throw that into the toilet. Now, most parents in this case, what would they do? They would try to punish their kids and move on. Fortunate enough for Nikhil that his mother saw something else in him, that he was not made for the traditional path. And by 10th grade, that became even more obvious. School felt like a prison to him. The test, the memorization, the report cards, the follow the script template of life didn't impress him. So he made a decision that most Indian parents would have a heart attack over. So at 17, he dropped out of the school. No backup plan and no safety net. Just one weird belief that there is a different way out.
I hated my school. I was scared of my class teacher, this teacher, that teacher. Beyond the 10th, I didn't go. I started working.
But here's the thing, right? Dropping out is easy. Most of us wanted to do that. Schools were not that great. But surviving the dropout phase is what makes the entire difference. So there he was, 17 years old in the early 2000s, and he needed money. Not wanted, he needed money. And back then, Bangalore had one thing in abundance, which was the call center job. But there was just one problem. You have to be 18 to get into the call center. So what he did? He faked his age via a fake ID, got into the call center, and got hired for a night shift for just 8,000 rupees a month. His job was simple. He had to call the elderly UK people, read the same script to them again and again, pursuing them to purchase an insurance policy that they probably didn't need. Night after night, same script, same rejection, over-exhaustion. For most people, this would be a rock bottom. The kind of job you do just to sustain yourself until something better comes along. But Nikhil had something else in his mind. During his breaks, which he calls the dead hours between 2 to 5 am, where the call volume dropped, he used to do something completely different on his computers. He used to study the stock market, the stock chart, trading platforms, market analysis, and by the way, this is early 2000s. A lot of people in India do not still know much about stock market. But here our boy became obsessed. He just wanted to know how the stock market worked. And he started teaching himself. Not from textbook, not from some mentor, but just from observing, by doing, by failing and getting up again. And oh man, did he lose. He literally struggled a lot to collect the savings from his call center job, invested that for 6 months continuously to build up some amount. He started feeling like he was finally getting it until one day, and boom, everything was gone, because that is how stock market works. 6 months of gain gone in one day. But here's what separates people like Nikhil from everyone else. He didn't quit because to him these losses weren't failures. And anyway, people like them, they have a huge appetite for failures. They have a huge appetite for disappointment, and they do not let it define them. He started building something inside him, which is known as instinct. And slowly, painfully, trade by trade, he started getting better. So much better that people started noticing. And here comes the chapter 3 of his life, the light bulb moment. The first person to notice his acumen was his boss, his immediate supervisor, who one day came to him and said, "Hey, can you manage a bit of my money for me?" Then a colleague, then another, and the word started spreading. Suddenly, Nikhil was managing portfolios. Interestingly, he was making more from this side hustle as compared to his original job. Now the student had become a teacher. Now here, something interesting happens, that Nikhil started noticing patterns, not of the stock market and the money movement, but of the people around him. All of these co-workers around him, they wanted to invest. They wanted to build wealth. They were desperate to participate in India's growth story, but they couldn't. Or rather, they would have, but the system's complicancy almost made it impossible for them to do this. Back then, if you wanted to trade stocks, you had to go to traditional brokers. And these guys charged insane fees. Hidden charges, complicated paperwork. In fact, for a regular person, imagine making 15,000 to 20,000 a month. This fees alone would eat up any profit. So overall, he realized that the stockbroking system is not designed for people like them. They are designed for rich. And he wanted to disrupt this system. So he came up with a plan. He thinks that what if everybody could trade for a flat fee? So it doesn't matter whether you are investing 10 lakh rupees or a 10,000 rupees. What if the platform is so simple that even a complete beginner could figure out and could trade into the stocks by herself? Now this idea turned into his obsession, and we all know how obsessively focused this man is. And soon, along with his brother Nitin, he turned this obsession into a full-fledged company, and they called it Zerodha. With this comes our chapter number 4, the Zero Barrier Story. So the name of Zerodha itself is a mission statement. It literally translates to Zero Rodha, which means zero barriers. And this was the whole point. This was the whole vision. Their model was so stupidly simple that it actually worked. Flat fee of 20 rupees per trade. That's it. Now it doesn't matter whether you are trading a stock worth 500 rupees or 50 lakh rupees. You only will be charged 20 rupees on this platform, and all of this will be done online. You don't need to go to any broker. You don't even have to fill any forms or go to any intimidating officer. Just open the app and start trading, and all of this with complete transparency, of essential value that we get taught in GS paper 4 ethics. And this Zerodha is a beautiful example of how transparency builds businesses. They showed you exactly what you were paying and why you were paying. Now, most of you would be wondering that this is a very good consumer-friendly idea. But how would you make a profitable business out of it? Here's how. Their vision, in fact, was not to make huge profit margins out of single customers, but they wanted to scale up the business and they wanted to play along the volume, which means millions of customers making trades every day. And even the India's ecosystem started supporting them. When Zerodha was launched, India was changing. Smartphones were spreading, internet was getting cheaper and more accessible, and a whole new generation of millennials and Gen Z were entering the workforce. These people, they grew up online, so they obviously didn't trusted the old traditional methods. They wanted things to be simple, fast and fair. And Zerodha was surprisingly all these three things. They didn't pay out for big celebrity ads. They didn't even need to, because the product spoke for itself. Users would tell their friends, friends would tell their friends, and it spread like a wildfire. And within a few years, as per the vision of Nikhil and Nitin, Zerodha became the largest retail stockbroker company of India. Ask me why. Not because they had the biggest of the investors, no. Not because they had generational wealth, no. Not even because they had genius marketing strategy, no. Because they literally solved a real life problem. And they built not just the trading platform, but an entire ecosystem. They built Kite, the sleek, lightning fast trading app that felt like using Instagram. Varsity, a completely free library where anyone could learn anything about stocks, trading and investing, and coin for mutual funds. By 2024, Zerodha was valued around 65,000 crore rupees. That's about $8 billion. And Nikhil himself was worth $1.4 billion, making him one of the India's youngest self-made billionaires. And it makes me so happy because the kid from the call center made it big time. But that's not where our story ends, because this is Nikhil Kamath. And he again could foresee something that is not apparent to a lot of people. So he saw something different, that money is just a beginning, money is just an enabler, which makes us come to our chapter 5, the new game. See, most people who make billions do two of the following things. First, they disappear into a life of comfort and luxury, or they started giving generic advices of how to follow your dream and how to achieve success in life. Nikhil did neither. Instead, he started conversations, the real ones. In 2021, he launched a very interesting podcast series named WTF is with Nikhil Kamath and this chain of podcasts. And interestingly, he doesn't just bring the usual suspects, the movie actors promoting their movies or influencers selling their courses. In fact, he brought on people that were actually shaping the future of India. He brought the Gen Zs, the millennials, the youth, startup founders, scientists, athletes, and then, in a move, he broke the internet as he sat down with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a dropout interviewing Prime Minister about technology, youth, and the future of India. Later, he'd host Elon Musk diving into AI, Mars, and the chaos of running companies that are trying to change the world. So the message was clear that now he is not just interested in the money game, but now he has entered the whole new genre of the influencing game. But not in a shallow way, He genuinely seemed like he's interested to know how the world works, and he wants people to be educated about the same. His philosophy thereupon became as disruptive as his business idea. He says that everything I know, I learn from failure. Success makes you lazy. Failure makes you curious. On the future, you know what his number one piece of advice is? That listen to what the kids are doing. He genuinely believes the smartest insight comes from the youngest people, not the most experienced. And interestingly, on the topic of marriage, in typical Nikhil's fashion, he's publicly said that he doesn't believe in marriage.
I don't believe in marriage, I don't believe in kids.
Not out of bitterness, because he believes that the traditional model of marriage doesn't make sense anymore. And he opts out of the things that doesn't make sense to him. Even the stuff society says that you shouldn't.
Being alone, we think it is a bad thing because society has convinced us that being alone is a bad thing.
And he puts his money where his heart is, but also where his mouth is. He co-funded the WTF fund, which gives grants to entrepreneurs under 25. No strings attached, no equity taken. It's just a philosophy that here's some money, go build something good. Because for Nikhil, success is not about hoarding wealth, which it shouldn't be. It's about enabling others. It's about opening doors for others. And now let's talk about the last chapter of this podcast, which is the real lesson. So what's the real story here? What can we actually learn from the story of Nikhil Kamath? It's very easy to look into especially his life and say that, oh, he got lucky and he got some networks at the right place in the right time. But that's not it. See, his superpower is not luck. Most definitely not. It was always about his vision, his side of seeing what others couldn't. He saw that school wasn't the only path to education. He saw the market could teach him more than any textbook. He saw the brokerage system was a barrier, not a necessity. So he strived towards removing that from Indian economy, and he saw that millions of Indians wanted to invest but couldn't because nobody built that door. But here's the thing. By telling his story, I'm not urging you to follow his blueprint. You don't need to drop out of a school. You don't need to build a fintech company of yours to have your success. But what you need to learn from his story is the courage to question, the resilience to learn from the failures, the vision to see problems as opportunities, as stepping stones, and the obsession to keep going where everyone else would have quit. Because I believe at the end of the day, the biggest barriers are not made of stones. Biggest barriers are made out of your perception of reality. The perception that you need a degree to be smart, the perception that you need investors to build big, the perception that you need permission to create change. Do not ask for permission. Just have a vision and start building the doors that could allow millions of people to walk through. So here's my question to you. What invisible barrier are you facing right now? What problems do you see that everyone has just simply accepted? Maybe your answer is the beginning to your own story. Thanks for watching, everyone. Now go and build your door.